Okay, people, we gotta talk and we gotta be honest about what's been going on with Endeavor, the problems with Endeavor, the problems with the constant attempts at quote-unquote canceling Endeavor that I've seen with the My Hero Academia fandom and just in general with this fandom. Like, I talked about my brief thoughts, which I normally usually always do every Sunday when the chapters officially release over on Twitter. I give a brief sentence or two on my initial reaction of the chapter, so if you want to follow me on there, it's for Neverworld on Twitter. Shameless plug, okay? But as soon as I did that, as soon as I talked about my thoughts on this chapter in particular, immediately people were bombarding me with, yo, abuse is abuse, fam. And it wasn't like I was trying to negate any of, or reflect for that matter, any of the blame for Endeavor. I'm just trying to show and give my opinion on where the narrative is moving in terms of what Endeavor has done and where Endeavor's character is, especially with chapters like 301 of My Hero Academia. Because, yeah, these are some very intense chapters, which, by the way, just My Hero Academia, this has been an element of the story, don't get me wrong, since early on, the whole Todoroki family, you know, trauma and all this stuff. But, man, when they want to get dark and feel like a soap opera or some shit with this family in particular, domestic situation, it can, because going into these chapters and getting even to talk about some of these chapters, it feels a little depressing and a little dark, especially considering My Hero, you could go from this, dark, really drastically depressing tone to like some of the sports festival stuff. It's like, holy shit, My Hero Academia has no chill. But yeah, people, let's talk about My Hero Academia chapter 301, the Endeavor Todoroki family situation in general, and where it feels as though the narrative is kind of spinning in terms of the blame and everybody's, trauma and whatnot, especially with Dabi and Toya. Let's do it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Now, the chapter opens up with a little bit of an interesting flair that I don't remember it being mentioned. It might have. I might have missed it, but I don't remember it being mentioned that Endeavor's marriage with his wife was essentially an arranged marriage. It was not that, like, they met each other and just, oh, we're in love, let's go get married. It was more so, like, put together. And in particular, on Endeavor's side of things, it was that he wanted power. He wanted to, of course, continue his goal to surpass All Might. And since he couldn't do it, he was like, bam, this bitch got ice, bet, let's do it. And I mean, we come back to the present time after that, and we see that Endeavor is shocked that his wife would even be there, because think about it, like, she was in the mental ward for quite some time, so for her to pop up there, he's like, holy shit, in my darkest hour. And it's also interesting to note that Horikoshi made sure that despite everything that Endeavor is feeling, he's still not necessarily letting him off the hook. Like, the way the mother is acting towards Endeavor, it's still like, yo, you did some shit, we're not gonna just give you a pity party, we all been through some shit more than you. But we come back to the past of seeing Toya, before the Dabi situation, everything, when he was a child, and his ambition to surpass All Might. One of the things, and I'm more so, instead of going beat by beat with this one in particular, I want to just talk in general and broad, because we see throughout the chapter that Toya's determination to surpass All Might, of course it was spurred on by Endeavor. Of course that was one of his main reasons, one of his passions was he was going to pass All Might, and he was going to do it via his children since he couldn't do it himself. However, in the chapter you're seeing, we're at the point where he's realizing that Toya can't do it. Toya keeps on going hardcore nonstop, and he's burning himself up every time he goes to the training. He comes back with a bajillion burns, and you can see a side that wasn't previously shown, especially early on in the manga, where Endeavor was just completely portrayed as like just this monstrous, abusive piece of shit. But you're seeing a little bit more of empathy. Like, he still has that drive and that burning rage to surpass All Might, but it's more so still implied that he has some type of empathy towards Toya, because at a given point throughout the chapter, he eventually is like, yo, just focus on your schoolwork, play with your brothers and sisters, this shit will go by, you will not think about this shit anymore. But he, at this point, he had turned his sights onto Shoto, like, oh, Shoto's going to be the one to surpass. But at that point, the problem is, and, the blame definitely ultimately still goes on Endeavor, right? Like, no matter how Horikoshi spins it, early on, he set the narrative too firm of, no, Endeavor really fucked his family in many different ways, not only just Toya and whatnot. But the problem is that the seeds were planted so deep, the way Endeavor moved and the way he pushed him, to the fact that Toya thought for the longest time, I'm going to be the one to accomplish my father's dreams. And of course, he has genetically just that burning passion as well of accomplishing goals. So not only does he have the genetics, but also he has at the same time, this poisoned mind of like, oh wait, you know, because throughout the chapter you're starting to see after a certain point, he's realizing and he knows that like, so father wanted me to do it and now I'm not good enough because father is like basically casting me aside and not allowing me to do this anymore because now we got a new sibling. So it's still ultimately Endeavor's fault, but you could see that this kid started getting twisted in and of himself after the fact, basically because of that drive. So yeah, the abuse was still via Endeavor, but there was also some other factors at play as well. Because once the brother came into the picture, Shoto, that's when you're starting to see that Toya's like, he's broken. He's like basically feeling neglected, he's feeling hurt, and he's feeling like it's the brother's fault. So if you think about it, fast forwarding to where we're at right now in the story, you know, in the current day and whatnot, one of the things driving Dabi, because a lot of people were kind of shitting on Dabi saying, oh, so basically he's just butthurt and upset that daddy didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Daddy wasn't there. Okay, let me not get into my Austin Powers bag. That's what a lot of people were basically putting Dabi as, like he has daddy issues and that's why he's doing all these things. But it's a little bit deeper than that. It's not just the fact that, yeah, Endeavor was the catalyst, but ultimately he started resenting his brother. So if you think about it, while he has a beef with his father, it looked more, especially in this chapter, seeing the flashback, that a lot of his beef also is with Shoto for simply existing. Because Shoto existing and Endeavor turning his sights onto him being the prodigal son and not Dabi made Dabi feel like, oh shit, I am not valuable anymore. My father basically abandoned me because he loves him more for being the strong one. So yeah, there are still daddy issues there, but a lot of it as well is him wanting vengeance against his brother for, again, existing and stealing his father's love. So there's still daddy issues, but again, it's also like a sibling rivalry in a twisted way. And I'm wondering who was the doctor slash scientist and that we see in the chapter. We don't really get to see their face and whatnot, but who was that spoke to Endeavor that day and told him that, yo, this kid, he has immense firepower, but his body is really only for withstanding like cold temperatures. So essentially the way Endeavor did it, it kind of backfired on him, that he was trying to have a perfect blend. And while it worked with Shoto, this kid in particular, his body was not meant for flames, so that's why it was getting burnt up. And while that does seem to be the case, because we know what happens later on with Dabi and whatnot, how he couldn't really withstand flames and things like that, I'm wondering, could that have been Maruta Shiga? Like, I don't remember what Endeavor, did he see Maruta Shiga's face? You know, the doctor, the scientist that is rolling with Shigaraki and things like that, because that would be interesting if he also manipulated that situation as well, because he wanted Dabi because he realized the potential in him. Because just think about it for a second, as a weapon, his flames, it was said even as a kid that his flames will be more deadlier than Endeavor. So if he had that power, you know, that doctor would have been like, yo, we need him. And I ain't gonna lie, one of the scenes of this chapter in particular, 301, that was like, holy shit, is where you really know that Toya completely lost it, is when he looks at Endeavor, he's bugging the hell out because he realizes that, you know, they don't want him no more. Endeavor in particular does not want him to be the successor, where he says, look at me, Endeavor, and then he charges at newborn Shoto at that particular point. It's at that instant that you already know, oh, he's completely far gone. And it was in his mind at that point that, yeah, not only is father a piece of shit for abandoning me and basically casting me aside, but it's Shoto's fault for existing. And again, that carries over into who Dabi is right now. And I mean, we've seen a little glimpse of Dabi in this chapter as well. He's basically there saying, oh, I can't feel the burns and stuff like that, because again, his body is all twisted and put together and whatnot. But also he's waiting there anxiously for Endeavor's statement. And I think that it's going to be a big play. A lot of people were disagreeing with my theory that maybe Hawks is going to pretend to be Toya Todoroki of some sort, but either way, I think that Endeavor is going to be able to come out with a statement that is going to either quell the people of some sorts, or Hawks is going to intervene again in some fashion. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like, you know, him saying, yo, I'm actually Toya Todoroki or what, but I think Hawks is going to be the key point to putting things together, because let's not forget that Hawks is still a fan favorite. Mind you, Dabi put out that bullshit of, you know, well, not even bullshit, it was facts about his father being a murderer and things like that, but yeah, Hawks was still very much liked by the public, so he can use whoever still really rocks with him. Endeavor never really had that fan base. Hawks did. Combine them together, Hawks standing by his side and saying, yo, I was abused, this is the guy that saved me as a child, thinking back to his backstory and whatnot, meshing them together, it could save face for Endeavor. And Endeavor, even if he is forced to retire or whatnot, he could still be a hero in some form, but just not like, you know, the #1 hero. And like I started this video off, yeah, Endeavor definitely was abusive. He abused all of his family in many different ways. Shoto was physically, the wife was mentally, the other kids, you know, was kind of a mixture of both, and Toya was more so just emotionally, emotional abandonment, making him feel like, you're the one, and then once he realized that Toya is not the one that will be able to surpass All Might, kind of just dumping him aside. And I'm glad that the mother, at the very least, also took a little bit of blame as well towards the end of the chapter, where she says, you're not the only one that didn't know notice him. Because that's true. It takes two parents to tango, and throughout these flashbacks, we're not really seeing the mom comforting Toya or anything like that. She might have been scared at that point, because remember, Endeavor was slowly becoming a monster with his family, so she probably didn't want to step out of line and get fucked up herself, but yeah, she didn't do what needed to be done to make him feel like it's okay. But I'm very curious what you guys think about this one. This is a very interesting, sensitive, but nevertheless important discussion in My Hero Academia's manga right now. Endeavor, Toya, how do you feel about that relationship? What do you make of what's going on with Dabi right now and where his blame comes from and what really turned him into it? Is it just solely Endeavor? Is it more to it? Because you can see he developed psychological issues. And again, you could argue the catalyst is Endeavor, but you can't completely say all of the blame is Endeavor's. And also, at the end of the day, we cannot forget, because I feel as though a lot of people are, and they're trying to just shit all over Endeavor, he is being a better person now. He may have messed up in the past, but he's trying his best now, and I think that there's redemption for a man, especially if he gives it his all and he's genuine from the heart. You can redeem yourself. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the My Hero Academia with chapter 302 and beyond? Yeah, this is some dark stuff, honestly. This is My Hero Academia. Like, we just had a crazy war, but in terms of feeling very realistic, like something that you would see in the real world, it feels that way. And yeah, it's a touchy subject to go into, but My Hero Academia doing its thing. So all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm Neverworld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace in. I'm hoping that Horikoshi wraps this scene up soon, because it just feels really, really dark and really realistic, and yeah, it's tragic. Godspeed to the Todoroki family. Have an awesome one.